A new Supreme Court alert is reshaping the reality of gun ownership in the United States. And most people do not realize how personal this change really is. This is not about mass bans, dramatic crackdowns, or sudden door-to-door enforcement. It is about something quieter, more subtle, and far more dangerous for everyday, law-abiding gun owners. One small mistake can now end gun ownership entirely. For a long time, many gun owners believed that if they followed the spirit of the law, the system would treat them fairly. That belief is no longer safe. The Supreme Court has clarified how gun laws should be evaluated, and that clarification is changing how states regulate, how courts rule, and how enforcement agencies act. The shift is not loud, but it is decisive. The key change is this: the legal system now places greater emphasis on process than on intent. What matters most is not whether you meant to do the right thing. What matters is whether you complied perfectly with the rules as written. Missing a step, misunderstanding a requirement, or assuming flexibility can now carry life-altering consequences. The Supreme Court has reaffirmed that the Second Amendment protects an individual right. But it has also made clear that this right operates within a framework. When states design gun laws that include procedures, findings, and documented safeguards, courts are increasingly willing to uphold them. This creates an environment where regulation expands quietly, not through sweeping bans, but through technical requirements. States are adapting quickly to this guidance. Instead of passing laws that openly prohibit gun ownership, lawmakers are focusing on rules that appear neutral and reasonable. Permits, training certifications, storage standards, reporting deadlines, and administrative reviews have become the preferred tools. Each requirement looks small on its own. Together, they form a system where one mistake can trigger serious penalties. One of the most common ways people lose gun rights today is through paperwork errors. Permits expire, licenses lapse, training certificates fall outside acceptable time windows. A responsible owner may believe they are compliant, only to discover too late that a document was outdated or incomplete. Under the current legal climate, that discovery often happens during enforcement, not before. Training requirements are a growing trap. Many owners assume that training completed years ago still counts. In many states, that is no longer true. Laws increasingly require recent, state-approved instruction. Courses must meet specific criteria. Certificates must be current. Courts are now more willing to uphold these mandates, meaning failure to meet them can invalidate lawful possession. Storage laws present another hidden risk. The definition of safe storage is no longer based on common sense alone. It is defined by statute. A firearm stored in a way that feels responsible may still violate the law if it does not meet technical requirements. If another person accesses that firearm, especially a minor, the owner may face criminal charges even if no harm occurs. Reporting deadlines have also become stricter. Lost or stolen firearms must often be reported within very short timeframes. 48 hours is now common. Stress, confusion, or delayed discovery does not pause the clock. Failing to report on time can itself be a crime, even though the owner was the victim of theft. Civil court processes now play a much larger role in gun ownership outcomes. Protective orders, restraining orders, and administrative findings can restrict firearm possession without any criminal conviction. These proceedings move fast. They rely heavily on written records. Missing a hearing or ignoring paperwork can instantly change a person's legal status. The Supreme Court has emphasized that when these processes include notice, hearings, and findings, they carry legal weight. That means courts are more likely to treat them as valid grounds for restrictions. Many gun owners underestimate this risk because they associate gun rights loss only with criminal cases. That assumption is dangerous. Enforcement behavior is also changing. When legal standards are unclear, enforcement tends to be cautious. When the Supreme Court clarifies the rules, enforcement becomes more confident. Officers and prosecutors feel safer bringing cases based on technical violations. Actions that might have been ignored in the past are now charged. This creates a timing problem. Many people continue living under assumptions formed years ago. They believe nothing has changed because nothing has happened to them yet. By the time enforcement ramps up, they are already out of compliance. The law does not issue warnings, it acts. Another critical point is that court challenges are slow. Even if a law is controversial, it may remain in effect for years while litigation proceeds. During that time, it is enforced. People are arrested under it. Rights are lost under it. Waiting for courts to fix a law is not a protection strategy. The Supreme Court has also clarified what lower courts should focus on when evaluating gun laws. Judges now examine justification, scope, and burden. How broad is the restriction? How long does it last? Who does it affect? What process does it include? Laws designed to look narrow and procedural often survive long enough to reshape behavior. States are writing laws with this test in mind. They frame restrictions as temporary. They tie them to findings. They include hearings and documentation. This makes them harder to block quickly and easier to enforce quietly. This does not mean gun ownership is over. It means the margin for error has shrunk. Gun ownership today requires more attention, more organization, and more awareness than ever before. Small mistakes that once led to warnings or corrections can now lead to charges. This is not about fear, it is about realism. The Supreme Court has not taken away gun rights. It has clarified how those rights interact with regulation. That clarification raises the cost of ignorance. If you own firearms, or plan to buy, carry, or transfer them, you must adjust to this reality. Know your deadlines. Track your paperwork. Take civil court notices seriously. Assume that compliance is exact, not flexible. One small mistake can now end gun ownership. Understanding that fact is the first step to protecting your rights in the new legal environment. Now let's talk about what the Supreme Court alert means for your daily decisions. Because this is where most gun owners either protect themselves or walk straight into trouble. The biggest danger right now is assuming that the law will give you a second chance. In many cases, it will not. The first adjustment you must make is mental. Gun ownership is no longer treated as a static right that you secure once and forget about. It is treated as an ongoing regulated activity. That means compliance never ends. You're expected to stay current, organized, and responsive at all times. Start with paperwork. Permits, licenses, training certificates, and purchase records should not be scattered or half-remembered. They should be current, complete, and easy to verify. If an officer, agency, or court questions your status, confusion works against you. Under the current legal climate, the burden increasingly falls on the owner to prove compliance. Deadlines are another major risk area. Permit renewals, reporting windows, and training validity periods are enforced strictly. A permit that expires quietly can turn lawful possession into unlawful possession overnight. Many people lose rights, not because they were reckless, but because they assumed a grace period existed. In many states, it does not. Training requirements deserve special attention. Courts are now more willing to uphold training mandates when states frame them as safety measures tied to historical practice. That means more requirements, not fewer. Do not assume old training still counts. If the law says training must be recent, courts will interpret that literally. Intent does not matter. Dates do. Storage rules are another trap for well-meaning owners. Many people believe they are compliant because they store firearms responsibly. The law does not care about responsibility in the abstract. It cares about compliance with specific standards. If a firearm is accessed by someone else, especially a minor, explanations rarely help. Technical compliance is what courts examine. Civil court interaction is where people make some of the most costly mistakes. Protective orders, restraining orders, and administrative reviews move fast and rely on paperwork. Ignoring a notice or skipping a hearing can instantly change your legal status. Firearm possession can become illegal without a single criminal conviction. Silence is not neutral. It allows the process to move forward without you. Communication habits also matter more than ever. Text messages, emails, and social media posts can become evidence in ways people do not expect. When laws focus on findings of risk, words can be used to justify action. Avoid venting in writing. Avoid statements that could be misunderstood or taken out of context. Records last longer than explanations. Interactions with law enforcement require caution as well. Being polite is important, but over-explaining is risky. Volunteering unnecessary information can create problems that did not exist before. Know what you are required to provide and provide only that. Cooperation does not mean self-incrimination. Another reality is uneven enforcement. During legal transitions, some jurisdictions enforce aggressively while others lag behind. Do not assume that because something is ignored locally, it is safe everywhere. Enforcement patterns change quickly, especially after Supreme Court guidance clarifies legal standards. Relying on future court challenges is also dangerous. Even if a law seems questionable, it may remain in effect for years while litigation proceeds. During that time, it is enforced. People are charged under it. Rights are lost under it. Winning later does not undo the cost of losing now. The Supreme Court did not issue a threat. It issued clarity. That clarity empowers states to regulate through procedure and empowers courts to uphold those regulations when processes are followed. In that environment, small mistakes carry outsized consequences. The safest approach going forward is simple but demanding. Stay informed, stay organized, take deadlines seriously, treat civil matters as urgent, assume the margin for error is shrinking because it is. Gun ownership has entered a phase where awareness is part of responsibility. Those who adapt early will avoid trouble. Those who assume nothing has changed will discover the truth too late. One small mistake can now end gun ownership. Staying ahead of that reality is how you protect your rights.